I've got some visuals. All right. I've got some visuals that we'll share today, but wanted to just say a little bit about who I am and why I founded Workflow Creative Studio. So, as Emily mentioned, I have been working in the tech space for about 15 years. I have a background in music business, and also currently I'm working with a company that does ed tech, educational tech. And as part of that journey, one of the things I realized is that it can be really tempting, or we just kind of fall into spending a lot of time thinking about how we build cultures for our teams, how we empower teams. Um, but it can be very tempting to kind of abandon ourselves as leaders. And that often I talk with a lot of people who are leading teams and there's a lot going on, but they haven't had a chance to really fill their own cup up again. And so Workflow Creative Studio does a few things, but really we're passionate about making sure that people know they can access that creativity and that innovation, regardless of what their job title is, how big their team is, what kind of culture you're in. You can build a culture that really is fulfilling for you as a leader, as well as for your people. So one of the assumptions that I have, and Leah and the team at the Perk will be very familiar with this concept, is that humans are naturally creative, resourceful, and whole. When we start out as children, one of the ways we learn about our environment and what it means to be human and be part of the world is exploring and trying out things. We don't know how things are supposed to work. We just go, what happens? I have a toddler, and one of the things that has been remarkable about watching him grow is that he will do something that in my mind, I think, oh, I'm pretty creative. I've got some good ideas. But I will watch him pick something up, flip it upside down, and use it for exactly the opposite purpose that it was designed for. And I go, I would never have thought of that. That's hilarious and awesome. And so a big part of honing in on your creativity is reminding yourself who's that kind of inner playful child who's not afraid to get a little messy, who sees things in a different way than what we have been trained to see them in. And what can that child, if you nurture that inner child, bring to the table? The other thing that I believe strongly is that not only just humans, but all humans can be leaders and are leaders. And so we, as people managers, as culture builders, as contributors to a team, leaders are naturally creative and resourceful and whole. So quickly, I'd love to hear, when you think about creativity, what do you think? What are other names for creativity? You can shout them out, put them in the chat.
Innovation.
Unique or innovative.
Innovative, unique. Yeah. Imagination. Thanks, Larson.
Playful.
Playful. Yeah.
I can't have one word, which is a problem of mine in life, but it's like I like to think of it like taking things from different industries or from all over the place and like pulling it together in a new way.
I love that. Yeah, that reminds me of last month, the innovation safaris. Ideas, visionary, boldness. Ooh, I love that. I also think boldness. It takes confidence to get out there and do something differently. Yeah, these are all really good. One of the things that it's helpful to remember as a leader is that that is part of why you are in the position you're in. You have the ability to see a bigger picture. You have the opportunity to align the team around where you're going. You know, as Leah mentioned, we all want to be moving in that same direction. But oftentimes, the way to get there is doing something differently. What got you here may not get you there. And so creativity is a major differentiator for how powerful you can be. LinkedIn Learning did a workplace learning report about 5 years ago now. It said that 57% of senior leaders today are looking at those soft skills. Those soft skills are more important than hard skills in many ways, unless you're in, I think, AI. That was the one sector where, guess what? The machines are doing the learning. And I mostly joke about that. But the other thing that was really interesting was creativity was the top skill desired by leaders. And so for you, not only as you're empowering your team, but as you're thinking about your own professional development and growth, this is something that can be really important to tap into. Stefan Moma, who is the director of narrative strategy at a company called First Person, which does storytelling, advertising, marketing, said creativity is problem solving with relevance and novelty. I know a lot of times it's tempting to think about creativity as, oh, you know, this person's creative with a capital C. They work in marketing, they're putting together films, they scored the soundtrack, they're painting. But the reality is you may use those things that may be part of who you are, but also you can use these things in your capacity now as a team leader, regardless of industry. So then the way that creative block can show up, you might have heard of it as writer's block. That's a pretty common term, but there are many ways that it can show up or reasons that it can be there. These icons are meant to represent some of those ways. So perfectionism, this target here, if you are so focused on it must be perfect that you don't make any moves, if you're afraid of failure and kind of getting messy, that can be one way that we got stuck. The fire, if it's not, you know, something that you're passionate about, you're feeling burned out, that's also a sign of creative block. There's a price tag here. Money is an example. So a lot of people go, well, we don't have the funding for this, or I'd love to do this thing, but I don't know if the return on investment will be high enough. And so that can also be a stopper. You know, emotions, things that we're going through in life, heartbreak, you know, tough things, trauma. Sometimes that's a reason that people don't feel led to create or can't access that playfulness. And time as well. So these are some examples. I won't go through all these icons, but I'd love to see what people typically feel that they are blocked by. So what we're going to do is we're going to annotate the screen. And if you go to your view options up in the top right-hand corner, there's an annotate button. And you have the ability to add an icon or circle or write. I'd love for you all to see, yeah, throw some icons or drawings, whatever you typically find keeps you from accessing that creativity or that innovation. I like this stamp. I know for myself, time is huge. I'm seeing a lot of time, some perfectionism. Stress is the little person with the lightning bolts. Yeah, absolutely. I'm also, Leah said she tagged all of them. Yeah, that's very legitimate. I also have flowed through these at various points in my life. And something I also like to remind people too is that creativity is not necessarily a constant state of being, right? It's kind of like happiness, where it's wonderful and you can get into it, but you're not always operating with creativity in kind of the top of the card deck. Sometimes you are surviving. You are, you know, if you're manning the house at home while your partner is traveling, that's a time where time is maybe limited. You've got other stuff going on. But the idea is that you can always come back to this. It's kind of recursive or circular, that you can build ways to access this into your life. All right, if you want to clear the screen, PERC team, thank you for your help there. We'll move on. Okay. And here I am annotating. There we go. Okay. Before we move on, are there any questions, thoughts? Okay. So these 4 categories here are some of the top 4 ways that we can reclaim that creativity for ourselves as humans and as leaders. For each of these, I've got a little activity that we can do as a way, kind of an appetizer for how you can start to build this into your daily life. Safety, the safety to make mistakes, get a little messy, celebrating the failure as opposed to punishing failure. Also surrounding yourself with collaborative teams and strong culture. Reclaiming possibility. So this is the idea that, there is a lot of abundance. And when you are creative, you go, I know this was designed for this and this, but that's really binary. What else? What else is there? It brings back an openness to options. Focus. So how do you protect some of that time? What is important about silence and solitude? Also, empowering your teams and making sure that you are prioritizing the right things helps protect some of that time, or what I call your playground. And then flexibility as well, autonomy, reclaiming some empowerment, and finding that comfort and discomfort. So first, we'll focus and practice on creating a little bit of safety to fail here. And so if you have, it's up to you, whatever your style is. If you have paper, if you have pen, if you've got your phone and you want to text it to yourself, think about, when did you, or when do you feel most creative? Think about your whole life, not just your career. And as you're writing that down, also think about who is there for you in those moments. Who have been your biggest cheerleaders? I'm going to give a few minutes here. All right, who has something they want to share?
I'd be happy to share. For me, hi Jeff. When places where I felt most creative in the past is 2 main things. One, when I have space to really think and shut out noise of other priorities, or other deadlines and things like that going on. And the second big thing is a personal preference, which is not being creative just by myself, but having a small group of people who can bring different thoughts together so that we can kind of bounce and build off of each other to get to a great idea.
Yeah, that's great. I know I'm also collaborative that way too. Who else?
I'll go. When I feel most creative, I have like the 2 polar opposite extremes. One is like when I'm really overly burnt out and I'm using it as a method to like move through that burnout or that stress or that grief. Or I'm really creative, like the flip side, I'm 100% at peace and just feeling very happy, and I have the brain space to dive into something bigger.
Yeah, what's there about kind of those opposites? Is there anything you find that's similar?
I guess I don't know. I don't know what's there at the opposites other than it obviously is something that works for me in the good and the bad.
I love that. Anybody want to share their biggest cheerleaders?
I think, Bill, do you have your hand raised?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna, so for me, I've probably felt most creative in about the last 9 months. Retired from the Air Force, left a very regimented, structured way of life, and gotten into coaching and building my own business. So just, I've never really been that creative as far as building a website, designing logos, marketing, things like that. And my biggest cheerleader's got to be my wife.
That's awesome. That's really great. Yeah, I'd say, my own husband, Alex, is a great cheerleader for me, but also I've had a lot of colleagues. And Leah is also a great cheerleader, who I remember throughout my career, those people who were like, oh, this is great, you should try this. That sticks with me a long time, even if, we're not in touch anymore. I can still hear that voice in the back of my head going, you can do this. This is great. Love it. Yeah, and thank you for your service, Bill. That's pretty awesome. So one of the things that you can do, and it's very small, but if anyone is familiar with The Artist's Way, Julia Cameron is a screenwriter. Well, she's done many things, but she also wrote this book about 25, 30 years ago about how to recover creativity. And so one of the things that you can do to start to reclaim that feeling of safety is even just carving out 10, 15 minutes before you get ready for the day and focus that time. One of the ways that she recommends is called morning pages. And so you can just write stream of consciousness and just kind of start to get out. What are your anxieties? What are you worried about? What's on your mind? What's great? What are you celebrating? No one's going to ever read these things. But it's a chance to just kind of like blurt out onto the page and get it out of your head. What has you kind of anxious? And that's something that I've been practicing for about a year, and I really love it. It totally transformed kind of how I approach work and life. It kind of centers me there. It's a little bit like meditation, but for more of a Western mindset. The next item that we can focus on is possibility. So how do we kind of recapture that abundance mindset? One of the things we could do is, I'd love for you all, I'm going to play a song here, go out to the internet and find an image that represents what you would try if all things were aligned, if you could not fail, there are no constraints. What would you try? What's something scary? And I'd love for you to add it as your background. If you go to your video icon, and choose virtual background, there's a way with a plus sign to add it as your background. So I'm going to play this music, and I'm going to actually, here, hold on, stop sharing for a moment and then reshare. As you all are finding your photo.
With a million smackers and nervous indigestion. Rich fellas eating milk and crackers, I ask you one question. what you're getting out of living? Who cares for what you've got if you're not having any fun? Are you having any laugh? Are you getting any loving? If other people do, why can't you have a little fun? After the honey's in the comb, all the bees go out and play. Even the old gray mare down home has got to have, hey, better have a little fun. You ain't gonna live forever. So while you're young and gay, still okay, have a little fun. Why should you work and save and save? Life is full of ifs and buts. Even the squirrels save and save. And what have they got? Nuts. Better have a little fun. You ain't gonna live forever. So while you're young and gay, still okay, have a little fun, son. Take it on the run, son. Get yourself some fun, son. Do it all for one, son. Imitate your mom, son, and have a little fun.
All right, I know that's not a lot of time. I'm curious to know what people would do. You see, mine is I'd love to try belly dancing if I wasn't shy. That's what I would do. Emily, what is yours?
I would love to learn how to sing well. Right now, this is me singing into a remote control or a hairbrush. And so, but just like the time for lessons and also just taking that step up from just singing by myself in the car to learning how to do it and finding the people around me to help me do that. But I think that'd be very fun to be able to do it well.
Love it. Who else? Catherine, I love your background.
Thank you. I sew a lot and I'm trying to expand a little bit into like geometric wall hangings. I really want to try it, but it's a beast.
That's amazing. I love that. I see Angela swing dancing. That's very cool. Paige, what's yours?
Mine says be your own boss, but I would like to start a business one day.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I love that. Bill.
Go into outer space.
Ooh, amazing. That's very bold. That's very adventurous. That would be way outside my comfort zone. I've watched too many movies, I think. Anyone else want to share?
I couldn't
was
find
trying
a
to-
picture
Oh,
fast
go ahead,
enough.
Dan.
Fast enough, but Lee and I remodeled our home like, I don't know, 5 years ago now, and I really did enjoy it, and I'd love to do more, like in our own home or other things. But I don't know how to make money, and I only know how to do it for myself, but also it's extremely time consuming, and it's very hard to do like a half hour at a time. We did
Yeah.
our house, like I didn't have kids, and I dedicated tons of like late nights to like midnight and early mornings. And it's very, very difficult when you have a lot of other competing things going on, but I do enjoy it. I get sucked into like Pinterest sometimes or rooms. I'm like, that'd be awesome to make, but I'm like, you know how many hours it takes to do that? Yeah. You maybe like paint one wall. Yeah.
I love that.
I don't know
Yeah.
if mine actually changed. Did mine actually change?
It did. Yes.
Okay. I was having technical difficulties. Mine is leaving the city in Madison. It's not a big city, but I'm like living in a yurt. Maybe still working, but like yurt living and homesteading. Is,
Love it.
which yeah.
I love it. Oh yeah, and I see Rachel's trip to someplace new to explore Cuba. Cuba. I love that.
Kelly, were you gonna say something?
Yes, I could not, my image that I chose like wasn't working to upload, but I would say like starting a cafe or a restaurant.
Ooh. What kind of cuisine?
I'm vegetarian and I do a lot of like vegan and vegetarian cooking, so something along those lines for sure.
Ooh, I love that. Amazing. This is also something that you can, I encourage you, create a little folder or a Pinterest board, or, some people will do vision boards, which can be great, about these dreams, because there are lots of ways to incorporate these. Also, I encourage you, see what it would take. Just explore. You never know. But the ability to allow your kind of inner artist, your inner child, your inner creative, to dream and not forget about those dreams, especially if those come back to you and have year after year after year. Pay attention to that, because that can also be an indicator of what you value, what you might try. It could be the exact thing, for you, for your career, your life, but it also could be something that others have been waiting to see appear. I saw Rachel's question about to-do lists, and this also kind of dovetails with how do you create focus in your life? I think the first of the little creative blockers to fill up with hearts and stars was time. And that also is something, candidly, that I personally struggle with the most. One of the things that you can do is truly, if you prioritize something, it is what will become important in your life. Or conversely, what you are prioritizing right now is what you are giving importance. Find ways to block time for creativity every day. And one of the things that that I have fallen prey to, or that I go, well, if I can't get 1 or 2 whole hours to sit down and do this thing, that it's not worth it. Well, 15 minutes is way better than nothing. And so one of the disciplines or the practices that you can put in is choose the time in your day where it feels the most, attainable. I recommend first thing in the morning, even before you brush your teeth, even before you get your baby out of the crib, even before you, start to get ready for work. 15 or 30 minutes in the morning just to focus on something that you care about is amazing. And if you do it consistently, try for every single day. If you do it consistently, it will start to transform how you think about the day, and you'll start to look forward to it as well. One other thing that I have found incredibly helpful is during my work day, if you go through and color code your calendar to show what creative time you have right now, or focus time, people might call it, innovation, collaboration, go and color code the things that make you feel like you're working in that space. And it will highlight for you, wow, how much you have right now and where you might want to go. One of the things that I also did was highlighting the opposite, things where it's like, ooh, you know what? I could be delegating these things, but instead I'm personally doing them. And so this is also a good leadership move, because you can identify opportunities for empowering your team or other people that are stakeholders that are very capable, whole, resourceful, creative. Give them that opportunity to shine so that you can carve out that time and replace it with focus time for what you need to do. I know too, it can be very overwhelming sometimes if you're fighting fires a lot. If things are feeling incredibly busy because you're kind of in an emergency state, even that 15 minutes before you go in and start to pull out the fire extinguisher is good to just refill your cup. And then one of the questions was about the to-do list. How do you prevent yourself from just spending that 15 minutes thinking about your to-do list? My answer is, it's okay sometimes if it is a to-do list, if you're thinking about it as these are all the things that are making me anxious, I'm going to write them down and I'll come back to them later. Or you can also say, okay, what this time is for is I want to write down all the things that I'm celebrating, that I crave, that I love. And that way your brain will start to focus on the things you're grateful for. And gratitude starts to, I mean, there's a lot of behavioral and cognitive science about what gratitude can do for our brain chemistry. And that can also be a great way, even if you just say, this is my gratitude moment, and you start to write down things, you're like, oh, I'm excited about this, or this feels really good, I'm looking forward to this. That's one hack that I've used as well. Just looking at the chat, let's see. Bragging on teammates. Teams know how important creative space is for Leah. That's so great. They literally put holds on her calendar for her. Oh my gosh, I want to be like you. When they see I'm being overscheduled with meetings, coaching sessions, workshops. One other thing too is if you are feeling this, your co-leaders or other management are also feeling this. And so bring it to your team and talk about what's a way that we can protect our leadership time. Maybe even it's a leadership meeting, but you all focus on your individual creative, innovative strategy, problem-solving times. So you have the utmost power over your calendar, and you can choose to do that, and things will make space there. Excellent. All right. And then one other little activity. Think about what if your inner artist is this kid, I call them kiddo. What song would they play to feel happy? Anybody have an immediate response? I played mine earlier.
Now Pharrell's happy song is just stuck in my head. So
Amazing. I hope that's a great thing. That is an infectious melody for sure. Yeah. I walked in and my toddler was watching some Sesame Street screen time, and there's a song that they play that's called I Wonder What If, Let's Try. And it's all about, hey, let's just try it out. I wonder what would happen if I did this thing. What if? Oh, let's try it. And I thought that was such a powerful, I was like, oh, I like that too.
We've lately in my household, because of spring, been listening to Rockin' Robin, and it's like, it's a really good one that I like, don't usually play on a frequent basis, but lately I'm like, man, this is great. Like, we all just get up and dance. So that's a good one.
I love that. Yeah, there's a lot to be said for the kind of the mental health benefits of music, the music therapy that people will do, but also physically, even if you're just snapping along or kind of getting up and dancing, that kind of mind and body connection can really release some endorphins, help you work out stress. And I know stress is also a factor in feeling burned out. Taking these little sips, almost like, you're just sipping from your coffee, can make a little oasis in a day that's really packed. All right, the last one for this morning is flexibility. So how do we build some autonomy and empowerment into our day? I talked a little bit about this with the calendar. Calendaring can be, especially in the leadership level where you are starting your own business or you're leading teams, the calendar can feel almost, I don't know, like the authority, like your calendar is doing things to you. I know I have felt that way, and a lot of resentment about someone scheduled another meeting on my calendar and I felt attacked. And that's a really good indicator that you should be focusing on some flexibility and autonomy. You control that. And so I would challenge everyone to think about what you will do this week to make space for your own creativity. Is it something we've discussed? Is it something completely different? Yeah, that my calendar won't let me. Yes, I've said that to Leah before. Yeah. Or is there something that the converse, it's not converse, but something else to think about is, what are the things that you already do for your own creativity? Can you extend that by 10 minutes?
Jess, I don't know if you want us to jump in, but
Sure.
I was one of the things that I had written down earlier for like when I feel the most creative. For me, it's when I'm outside, like just in nature, whether it's just walking around the neighborhood, but just like, essentially away from connections, screens, that sort of thing. And so to this end, right, I think just really embracing, I don't always think of that as creative time. I just I'm like, I got to get some fresh air, right? But like just shifting my perspective of, oh, that's actually a very important, like going even just for a 10-minute or making it a 20-minute walk at the beginning of the day and treating it as a critical component to the rest of my day so that I have that creativity, creative juices flowing from being outside and thinking of it that way versus like, I just got to get 10 minutes outside, right?
Yeah. Yeah, there are also a lot of mental and physical health benefits of that too. It's funny, as you start to dig into what things can contribute to creativity, you'll see how interconnected things can be. And so that is something where, yeah, just movement of your body and being in nature has measurable benefit for humans. We love our nature. Bill, let's see. You said just trying to be creative with how you use your time, driving your son to baseball, waiting for him. Yeah, using that time alone in the car for creativity. That's a great idea. It's a really great idea. Rachel said, trust and delegate the leaders you manage. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good reminder for myself, because I also have fallen into this trap is, something that you are doing that feels heavy and annoying and kind of at the bottom of your skill set could be someone's growth. And so the more that you kind of hold on to those things, the less opportunity that you're allowing for your team to do that as well. Yeah. Good. Yeah, this is great. Great ideas. I know we often will spend a little time towards the end of this just kind of chatting and connecting. I'd love to open it up and see what are other areas where people are where you would like to infuse innovation and creativity into your own life, career, leadership. Saw Lars say utilizing screen breaks that your company encourages. That's great.
Jess, I'm not going to answer your question directly, but can I share something that's coming up for me?
Yeah.
So I love when you were talking about, how one of the elements is safety. So we were saying we're in Milwaukee, for a workshop, and we're doing a workshop on inclusion and belonging. And so much of what we talk about in that space is when you have a culture where people don't feel included or don't feel like they belong, it totally destroys creativity and innovation and collaboration. So I just I can't I just keep thinking about that, how it's so important for us to create a safe space for people to share their ideas, admit mistakes, celebrate those failures like you talked about, because otherwise we really will destroy the creativity on our teams.
Yeah. I have an example from, well, I've worked at a couple companies like this, but I have some examples where one of the things that companies put in as part of their HR system was, the clock in and the clock out. You've got to be here. Even when I was waiting tables in college, you had to be there. If you were 7 minutes late, it rounded up to 15 minutes late. And if you were under 7, it would round down. And what that really reinforced was that people would push the limits. They would show up and they would clock in, and then they would do exactly what was asked of them and nothing more. And that was an example of a system that was put in place that was really kind of punitive about getting people to comply. And it completely sucked all of the creativity or the safety to fail or the safety to waste time. And so that's something where it's also, the way that we build our systems, build our teams, if we assume that they are the best versions of themselves when they can be autonomous and we're providing feedback there, that can really help create a safe culture.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
You just hit something on the head for me. I had something happen yesterday that I was really ruminating over, where a leader I didn't appreciate the approach to feedback, like just very abrupt and curt. And it's always been something that I don't appreciate. And I realized, but I was trying to pinpoint, like, okay, you're just being rude, but like, how can I tie that back to a meaningful thing that I want to bring up as an issue, right? And it's like, when you do that, and as a leader, if you don't give feedback in a way where it's like you can give critical feedback, right? Where it's like, you need to be better, but you can do it in a way that makes the person feel safe. And if you don't, you're not creating that safe space. And then as a result, right, to Jess, this whole presentation, right? If you don't create that safe space, you're not going to have creative organization. You're not going to have people that feel like they can perform well, essentially. And it all comes back to safety. And my brain, I'm thinking, like, you're just like some people, it's like that's the way they think, the only way it's going to get done. And it's like, no. And in the same situation, sorry not to hog the floor, but the leader made a comment about me not wanting to ruffle feathers, because I genuinely believe that you actually don't have to ruffle feathers if you're giving critical feedback. Like you can be like, hey, that didn't work. Like you can give it in a kind way that also gets results. And it's because safety is so important in the workplace if you want to get stuff done. So thanks for sharing that, Leah, because it just that you kind of just helped me remind me of that missing piece of why this thing was driving me batty, and also because it's something that I don't want to just let fly. It's like, that's just not okay. The other thing, though, just to your initial question, that I realized, we're talking a lot about the professional space. I don't know about folks here. I'm someone where it's because I've just kind of always been, if someone puts a task in front of me, I'm laser focused. And so I have a job, I have a full-time job. So I use all of my energy, sometimes including my creative energy, in the workplace, because I like what I can to be creative. And I'm realizing that a space where I want to be more creative, but then I don't have the energy, is with my kids, where they naturally want to be creative, but it's I end my day, they're home from, daycare or whatever. And it's I want, it's this desire because they're like you said, they're naturally creative. And it's I don't have the energy. So something that I want to kind of figure out is how to have work take less energy, so that I have those creative juices to help cultivate that with my children outside of the professional space. And that's just an ongoing challenge with time and all the other things we talked about earlier.
Yeah. That concept of, how do you save enough creativity for your loved ones, and for the time where it's I can savor this and this feels really good. That's a huge reason to try to fill your own cup so that you can come to them. I know I'm the same way. It is a marked difference for me when I have, I take that, for me, it's 30 minutes in the morning. I set my alarm just 30 minutes earlier. I do my journaling. I get all of my worst versions of myself out onto a journal where no one else will see it. And then I actually feel a lot lighter. And then when I can come home and go, I put in my best effort. That's all I can do. I'm a human being. I'm not a machine. And it's a major mind shift for me. When, then my son, when he comes to me and, is, I don't know, wearing a hamper basket on his head, I'm like, great, this is a rocket ship and we're playing, and it can be really fun for both of us. So that's a good point.
One of the things I want to say with creativity and children, my mom actually gave me good advice about this, because I was like, she's like, you got to take the pressure off yourself. Like, you don't have to be so creative. She's like, literally, she's like, take a spoon and this is like when Betty was younger. She's like, take a spoon and a box and put some balls in the box and like show how you can put the ball in a spoon and put it in another box. And she's like, creativity.
Yeah.
And like Betty loved it. And so now, yeah, it's just like these really simple things. And it's like, oh, okay, I don't have to be like, have all the art supplies and everything perfect. It's like, we can make anything creative.
Yeah. 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 That playtime.
Mm.
Bill, thank you for sharing this workplace survey. I was also reading, this is the same one I was reading a few weeks ago, and it is really interesting how our medical leadership are also identifying how important this is for people, especially in the workplace. So. What else? What other areas are people hoping to recapture their creativity? Innovation, play. A hairy problem you're trying to solve, and you're like, I don't know. Should we all take a break and just Kelly can bake us some delicious vegetarian cuisine? Well, good. Well, thank you so much for the time today. I am really excited to be part of the culture community. Thank you to Leah and the Perk. And I'll turn it back over to you all.
Amazing. Thanks, Jess. This was so awesome. Before we let all of you go back to your days to be creative and just conquer the day, does anybody have any last minute questions?
Yeah.
Thank you, Jess. That was amazing. I feel so creative.
Yes. If you have any other questions, I'll put my email in the chat too. Feel free to send them my way. Even if you're just looking for additional ideas.
Awesome. That would be great. Yes. And we'll also send out her information with the follow-up email tomorrow. So thank you all so much. We'll hope to see you next month. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Jess.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.